I begin about it that I can present on this evening our lawyer, Dr. David Misaros, with Michael together in a really nice call. Yeah, they will present a lot of new things also. They want to talk about the regulation. They want to talk about SmartKas and the secure for the future and everything. So I'm only for the first part to say hello to everyone together. And now I give the part to Michael and David. So when you talk all three guys, it will be take for 6, 5, 8 hours. I don't know. So I give my voice to Michael. Michael will start the call together with our lawyer, and they make the voice play together, and I'm only behind the scene. So I wish you a nice evening and have fun in this nice call. Bye till later.
Thank you, Patrick. Okay, guys. Yeah, it's a real honor for me to be the one of the host of this webinar, because this is a very special one. We had a lot of webinars in the past, but this one is the breakthrough of this company. First of all, I would like to say hello to David, Dr. David Mazaros, our lawyer and the CEO and founder of M Group. David, please let us know if you're there. I already saw you, but say hello to the crowd.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Michael, for the kind introduction.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So it's not my webinar today, because I would like to give the stage to David, because he really deserves it. First of all, he would like to explain you something about the company structure, the legal stuff, what we have right now and what we are planning for the future. And then afterwards, he would like to talk about our new physical project we have as a joint venture with M Group and CMMT. It's called SmartKas. I already told you about, but David is the one who can explain it to you much better. And like Christiane told you, this is absolutely amazing. You will love it, and afterwards you would like to marry David, I know, but he's still engaged and there is no chance for you. I'm sorry for saying that, but listen to his voice. I don't have to be the co-host at this moment, because his English is much better and he can explain everything. At the end, I will make a little sum up. And now, yeah, please, David, tell the guys what is going on, what we are doing. I will mute myself and listen to everything you will say.
Sure. Thank you, Michael, and then hi, everyone. So just like Michael said, I would like to start by discussing a little bit about the corporate structure and also the various legal undertakings that we are working on to constantly improve the company structure, constantly reduce expenses and taxes, and acquire higher and higher tiers of licensing and getting the permissions. So first of all, I don't know if some of you have been to Berlin or have seen some of my previous presentations. For your information, I also teach at the University of Amsterdam about this kind of stuff, especially the crossroads between technology and legislation, which has afforded me the opportunity to really create the best kind of structure, not only for CMMT, but also all of our clients and all of our projects. What this means is that you cannot just pick one jurisdiction because it has the lowest taxes, or one because it has the best bank secrecy, you know, or all of those things that you see from movies and what they tell about, you know, stars having trust funds in offshore islands, etc. Because that is very narrow-minded, especially when you're trying to build a tech company. Because let's not kid ourselves, what we're trying to achieve here is basically the construction of a tech company and nothing else, which is the only kind of company that you should be building in this century anyway. Basically, when we are choosing jurisdiction, there's something in you know, lawyers called forum shopping. I don't know if any of you is maybe a lawyer, but that could be a already familiar term for you. What that means is that we are trying to pick and choose from the best kind of jurisdictions, for each has its benefits and each has its disadvantages. And in this sense, multiple questions coming to your mind. I don't know if you're mostly from overseas or from Europe, but basically, European legislation, especially at the union level, affords us the opportunity to raise funds and manage funds and have some sort of control over trading up to various levels in various countries, without actually the necessity of having to acquire a license, which would be maybe the equivalent for our US friends, Reg A, Reg B, etc., that kind of licenses or permissions. But here, what we have is kind of a free format like regime up to a certain niveau, and then that goes almost per country. And above that niveau, you can acquire higher tiers of licensing. This is exactly what we are doing. How it was explained during the German presentation is that if there is a corporate sophistication of 10 levels, these are just imaginary levels, then if you want to get to the 10th level, then you should have the requirements for that 10th level, right? However, we are at level 1, 2, 3, so we should be worried about having the requirements for level 1, 2, 3 for two very simple reasons. One is speed. If you cannot acquire the needed necessary legislation, corporate structure, and the licensing, then basically you are risking economic loss. And the other one is the pure financial incentive, which is the cost effectiveness of the company. We're not going to apply for licensing that is not yet required at this volume. So having said that, we can basically divide jurisdictions into 3 categories and also different licensing types into 3 major categories. One is activities that are regulated, that are license requiring activities. 2, activities that are semi-regulated, which means that yes, they fall under the scope of a regulatory authority, however, do not require a certain license up to a certain degree, whether that's number of investors, number of trades, volume, net capital, etc. And then the 3 is the unregulated category of activities, which basically most of crypto handling falls into, at least within the countries where we have a corporation. Once you understand these, then basically you can employ the previous tactic of forum shopping and create such a sophisticated corporate structure that we have and that we are continuously working on to acquire basically the best benefits from each country where we operate. So that's really shortly to give a quick summary about where we're at. Later on, where we're going to grow, and we're going to go to many countries, and not only in terms of investors and representatives or leaders, but actual incorporations with offices in those countries, especially after our joint venture together with our company. It is a possibility that we will open up those entities, and there might be some that open up in your country, in your jurisdiction, which can provide even more extra incentives for you to activate your community, basically. One more thing that may be important here to note is that now we have a new kind of main entity, and that main entity is located here in Amsterdam. It's a Dutch limited, and the registration address of this same entity is the same as ours, which means that we provide our own real office space to CMMT jointly, so that we can use that for client meetings, investor meetings, or regulatory meetings, etc. Yeah, I think this kind of sums up the legal and corporate structuring for CMMT, where we are at, where we're headed. Maybe one more thing that I mentioned during the German session is that we are also striving to open as many bank accounts as humanly possible. And we're really talking about a ridiculous number of accounts. And that's due to the sensitive nature of these technologies, especially cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology. Some banks might find it interesting and might want to kind of investigate what's happening on that account. And for that duration, we do not want the entire wealth of the company to be frozen, which is why we're placing many legs, so that when one falls or when it's under investigation and we have to clear that, which can take a couple of days, couple of weeks, sometimes months, then in the meantime, 95% of the rest of the company is 100% assured against any kind of whimsical acts of the banking community. Michael, do you think we should mention anything else at this point, or shall we go over to the longer part?
I think for this time, for this moment, this is enough. Everyone should understand that we can act immediately when something is changing. Everything with the structure, with the company structure, is good for now. We are doing everything when we need this. So this means now we can work legal and licensed everywhere in the world. And when there is something changing, then we can act immediately and can bring it to a higher level. And this is what David told us. They are looking over it, Patrick and David, every single day, and they have everything under control. And I think this is enough to know at this point. Even if when there is a special question to it, please let us do it after the presentation. When there is something they would like to know that you can explain a little bit more in detail, I would like to do it afterwards.
Absolutely. And just for the reminder or the reiteration, it should not be imagined as such that we are in over 200 countries fully licensed. No, it should be imagined as such that we make sure that every incoming money is perfectly screened. Basically, it's in line with AML and KYC regulations, privacy, data regulations, and also the different required licensing tiers. Once we made that sure, that's when we allow the investment, and that's when we allow it to proceed. And that is also when we make our reports to the security authorities, such as the AFM in the Netherlands, which would be basically SEC in the US, for example. And next to that, we are also in good touch with the central banks of certain governments, which will enable us to, in the near future, build up an even more sophisticated system. And that way we can give better care and better support for our financial services and financial systems. But that's in the future, but it's coming. All right, and then maybe we can start immediately about SmartKas. I'm going to share my screen. Let me put it on there. Is it good visible?
Yes, yeah, it is.
Okay, perfect. So I think most of you have already heard about our entity, what we're doing. You can kind of imagine M Group. So I'm not going to go too much into detail about that. That's number one. Number two is going to be about a problem and solution. That's, as you can guess, it's a smart agricultural project. So the problem is the problem with the current traditional agriculture. Number three is going to be the features of this solution, which is called SmartKas. And number four is about the project details and some news. We have very big news regarding this project. And after that, a quick summary of everything. So about us, I'm really just going to quickly mention what has already been said. We are a management consulting firm, and we specialize in corporate structures, and basically we are corporate fixers. So for any kind of problem that a corporation is facing, whether that's lack of office space ranging to different licensing or incorporation, mergers and acquisitions matters, we do a very wide range of services. And this is exactly what we are doing together with CMMT to ensure that every single project is perfectly structured, up and running. And this we have together with 41 projects. So together we have 41 projects with a total portfolio size of 1.6 billion. And now I would say 50, 60, maybe even more percentage of our attention is focused on SmartKas. So I'm going to go over to that, which is today's subject of discussion. Here you will see that there are 5 big problems with farming, with agriculture. Number one is the sun. So you have a total approximate of 8,760 years, whether you're counting for leap years or not, of hours in a year. So this is a fact, this is a mathematical fact. Of this, you can only use about or consider about 1,500 to 3,000 as sunny hours per year, but that has nothing to do with actually usable hours for production. From this, you have less than 1,000 once you factor in cold weather, climate conditions, and harsh climate weather. So here you can already see that roughly about 10 times the productivity could be improved just by providing a 24/7 farming solution with specialized lights, which we will show you in a second. Number two is about overpopulation and urbanization. So it's not only a problem that we have more and more people to feed, it's also a problem how to get fresh food to these people when in 10 years we're going to have mega cities and super cities, and it will be impossible to basically logistically solve this problem. We have a solution for this as well. Then number three is inefficient farming methods, waste and emission. Here you should simply think about the amount of water, electricity, and waste it takes to effectively operate a greenhouse and to effectively farm. Here we have solutions for this as well. And then number 4, this fact might shock you, and it is a fact, you can check it yourself. A single bird can bring up to 2 kilograms of fruit a day. This has been researched in the Netherlands, which yielded around 200,000 euros of loss per farmer per year. This is an enormous loss. It's approximately 1/4 of the total yield is lost to birds and insects and other intrusive animals. And this is mostly fought with, scarecrows and biological pesticides, which are less and less effective, and of course, incredibly hazardous for the environment. Number 5 is the human element. Besides requiring a lot of electricity, water, and waste, it also requires a lot of people or skilled enough people to operate machines to effectively run a farm and a greenhouse. Not just that, but when you consider building such a contraption in Africa or India or certain parts of Russia, where the infrastructure is non-existent, then you also have to think about the incredible amount of people, who are willing to do it wrong, who are willing to steal elements of it, who are willing to break in or take over, which is why we also have safety measurements for that. So that's the human element. Here I'm going to quickly jump over this one because it just talks about the solution, but here you can see in a nice grid on the left the 5 issues that we've just listed and our 5 reactions to that. Number 1, going from 800 to 1000 up until the maximum hours, so there are no hours lost. This alone amounts to approximately a 10 times increase in production numbers. Number 2, our answer to urbanization is that we can no longer only farm on a rural arable land, but you can farm anywhere, even on rooftops, frozen ground, in the middle of the ocean, or in a desert. And for these, we already have use cases all over the world, and also letters of interest for ordering them into most impossible locations. Then to the cost of electricity, water, the waste, the CO2 levels, we have a very beautiful answer. We do not use outside source of electricity, not even water. We do not generate waste, and we do not contribute to CO2 levels. Electricity, some of you might understand in the form of, renewable energy, solar, windmills, etc., which is, yes, we are using just in a much more advanced way, but I will explain to you later. But as for the water, we have 2 incredible solutions. One is the atmospheric water generator, which subtracts the humidity from the air, thereby creating microbiologically safe water that is safe for human consumption even. Number 2 is water desalination devices, which can be placed along the coastline for those farms that are nearby a coastline and then provide fresh water like that. Since the entire system runs on drones, robotics, and with the help of an AI, the levels of vitamins and CO2 levels are completely measured all the time. This gives us the opportunity to have a perfectly set up, basically laboratory conditioned SmartKas, which is the name of the project. And that's how you can achieve even more productivity. Then number 4 is the 1/4 of the harvest lost due to these pests. This is usually fought with chemicals, which we do not use and we do not want to use, because we have active damage and loss prevention by way of kinetic energy from the drones, sound waves, and also lasers, which have no environmental effect on the plant or the nature, but are just as effective. Next to this, the system itself is hermetically closed down, so foreign objects, foreign animals cannot access it from the outside. Number 5 is normally agriculture is an intensive, labor-intensive undertaking. However, with our solution, there's an option for unmanned and automated systems where basically there's no human interaction in the whole system. The drones fly up and down, the droids, the robots, and also the diodes in the earth that are measuring the soil quality are constantly working 24/7. Oh, and by the way, I said option, so there is an option for it. Because imagine a country where unemployment is high and they would like to introduce this for the other benefits, such as the 10, 20 times increased production, but would like to employ the population. That's also possible. We are building a very flexible and infinitely scalable solution that can be placed also in part together. It can be also put together without the unmanned drone solution, if that is the wish of the country. Then real quick about the features of the SmartKas. I'm not going to go into details about each of them. That's on always the second page. But you're going to see a big flashy image with some nice words. I'm going to talk about that, and we go to the next image and the next image and so on. So number one, this has already been told, but just for the absolute understanding of everyone, this is infinitely scalable, which means that you can literally build up to thousands and thousands of hectares long plantations. This is 24/7 working, which means that we have very special LED lights systems that are growing, and the plants can also be placed on stack on top of each other, because the real sunlight doesn't have to reach the lower levels. This also gives us an incredible opportunity, for example, for those from the US, that on the side of skyscrapers, first of all, as a site, as a nice view, but also as a practical solution, we can just make the corner into a SmartKas, just a very small part, just exactly just the corner. And then imagine that it can house a restaurant that serves gourmet vegetables harvested there. It can be an air freshener because it sucks the CO2 out and creates fresh air. But it can also be a sightseeing, a beauty thing, because it can grow beautiful flowers on the side, also self-sustainingly. Number two, the global deployability of this project is amazing, because we can ship it from Australia to Africa to Siberia, everywhere in the world, which works hand in hand with the third feature, which is climate resistance. Due to the active passive modus of the double glazed smart glass that we use, we have the opportunity to also farm in freezing weather conditions or in the burning sunlight in the desert. And this is all made possible due to highly advanced technology that we put together. And the prototype will be built here in Amsterdam, where you can see and test it yourself. And then we jump over that. Here you have the renewable energy page, which is basically not only solar power. However, real quick about that, the solar receptors and the panels themselves are built into the glass. So there are no ugly panel contraptions on the outside of the building. It's a beautiful, super modern and very chic building that looks like any other nice glass house. I mean, as a house built of glass with a very nice architecture. But you do not see ugly panels anywhere, because it's beautifully built into it, and it already serves as a power conductor for the whole system. Next to this, we are also in discussions with the Wind Council. That is the Global Wind Energy Council. You can check it. It's one of the biggest energy councils for wind lobbying. And through to these connections, we can get our hands on a free wind turbine here in Amsterdam. And for our future ventures into other countries where the sunlight is lesser, we're going to employ the help of the wind and also seismic energies and oceanic waves, depending on where we build. For your information, we also have a test case in the Maldives, where we are the agricultural agent for an artificial island that's being built there. So that's a sub-project where SmartKas is being utilized already for oceanic farming. Then this might come as an interesting fact for some of you. This is the self-sustainable water supply. Here, basically, the devices that we are using are certified by the World Health Organization. And as I said before, they are microbiologically safe for human consumption. This comes hand in hand with our smart soil, which is basically such grass that you might roll out in one pack, like a carpet in front of your house when you move to a new house. That's how you should imagine it. But this is mineral and vitamin enriched soil that you can then install also in areas where the soil is completely missing. Just as said with the example of the artificial island, there we have to bring the smart soil there, which is not only rich enough to create and produce plants, but also to increase the productivity and the life term of these plants. Then this one is an interesting one. Basically, the complete solution has the ability to be fully automated and unmanned. This means that it can operate 24/7 without stop, without human interaction. We have the most advanced AI working together with Huawei. This is not an understatement. Every single week, I'm going to Brussels because there is a working group put together by Huawei who are giving us engineers and researchers, and we are developing our very own AI for farming capabilities. This can not only do sorting of bad and good apples, but it actively contributes to the whole farming process because we also have automated harvesting and a logistical component to deliver the goods to a warehouse. Now, the last point is very important here, data-driven. Everybody knows that the new oil, the new gold of the world is data. And through our installations, we are amassing a massive amounts of databases, basically not only from farming, so not only from the agricultural industry, but also from flight, from aviation, from data management, from 5G, from solar energies, and all of these sub-principles and sub-divisions of basically SmartKas. And that we can combine into a blockchain and data-driven open source database, which we can later also monetize for royalty fees and a steady passive income for the community. Then how you should imagine this is this ultra-modern building. The one that we're building in Amsterdam is not only going to be, by the way, a SmartKas on its own, so a unit of smart greenhouse. But since we have our hands on a very large, very expensive land, thanks to one of our investors, we are able to build a large 6 hectare big, that's 60,000 square meters, big tech center and innovation center just outside of the main city. I am actually currently in our offices, which is approximately 5 minutes by car from the north of Amsterdam, where this land is. You're going to see it soon in a map. And there we are going to build our laboratories, but also a testing restaurant where you can test out the food that's being created there, entertainment center and gaming hall, where you can test out our drones, our services. But also, since we are a community, we are a network, we're going to organize networking events on the land, and the entire outside of the kas, of the greenhouse, can be replaced and retrofitted into one whole big screen. And since they also function as media projectors, there we can also hold events, which I think is very important in the life of a network, of a society. And needless to say, the vision, I don't know if this has been explained before, the vision is to transform the image of the traditional farmer from the muddy gummy boots into a suited gentleman, a businessman who just checks the harvest and the yield of the harvest from the laptop and the iPad, and everything else is completely high technology, and it will become a prestigious and modern industry. Then a little bit about the project details. What's in it for me? What's in it for you? How will this be built up? Here you can see that we work together with a number of large organizations, universities, multinational manufacturing companies, etc. The good thing about these connections, it's not just that once in my career in the past 10 years, I have worked with one or two or three of them, and now I'm trying to mention them. No, the conversation and the collaboration goes so far that most of them have already agreed to participate in our podcast. And we're going to have one of each as an expert to discuss in our weekly upcoming podcast, which I believe is the best form of endorsement, that we let them talk, what's interesting for them in SmartKas, why are they supporting it. Next to this, first round big investors. So this is a very premium and selective group. Will have the chance to come with us to a manufacturing site in Spain, where we're going to do, among others, missile testing just for the show, and also robotic and drone testings together with our AI, etc. So there's demo possibility for just the manufacturing side. In approximately 6 to 8 months, the prototype will be built anyway, at which time we will start organizing events there. And then this one is just real quick, very interesting. I'm going to Congo later this week, and there are so-called private-public partnerships, which is what we also have in Congo, which means that we have pre-orders for almost 500 units, which is approximately around 500 million euros to build and install there, and also to maintain later on. And this works in the form of private investors putting down money for the investment for the government. So this is not investors for us, it's investors for the government. And then we get to build this project in large amount, and then the government cedes certain rights, benefits to those private investors, whatever they may be. Next to this, we're also going to scale the project with the help of the European Commission, of which one of the ambassadors is actually a team member. In future podcasts, probably the first one will be with him. He will explain to you why we merged, what was the allure of making a 30,000 member worth think tank, Drone Think Do, under part of M Group, and how is this useful for the future. Then the road to 1 billion. Now this at first was probably an overstatement, and all of a sudden it became an understatement at this point. What we were trying to achieve in the first 6 months is building the prototype, but with the coming of this new land and new technologies, new partnerships, we are basically constantly exceeding our own expectations. And every single week, the whole project and business plan has to be rewritten because we are just growing too fast. But the original plan would have been as follows. By middle of next year, we would scale the company to 50 million, at least this sub-company, this project, with the help of private investors as well as these international organizations. After that, international sales begins, and eventually we would launch our very own UN humanitarian mission, with whom I have very close connections due to my past work. And once that happens, we would become the golden standard for food. We would be able to install thousands of units in tens of countries. We already have more than 10 countries in discussions for this. So the future is bright, because of which there is a very high ROI reserved for first round investors. This will change later on, but you have to imagine that the more units we create, the lesser the essential cost of the unit is, which is why we can improve on the profits as we go on. Then this might be interesting for you to see. We already have a 6 million euro valued land. Now the land itself will gain value incredibly, and that's due to the fact that we got it at a very, very low euro per square meter price. And every surrounding built up land around it costs at least 10 to 20 times more per euro. We're working on the permits and the construction with the municipality of Amsterdam. Once that happens, then just the prototype, that's not the entire SmartKas project, that's not even international sales, just the prototype in itself will increase in 10 to 20 times value, which we will also exploit for the better, as we will detach part of this land and build smart homes that are built with the same technology as SmartKas, self-sustaining green homes that are able to feed your family. We will build 20 to 40 of them. This is a very large land. And for those, we already have a big investor who was willing to buy them. So that on its own is a very nice exit strategy for shorter term investors, something to look forward to. Now, this is a little bit about the unique advantages and the new technologies that we have. I'm going to go clockwise from Smart Glass and Frame. Originally, we're going to order these from the subsidiary of Samsung, that is Samsung Tech. This is responsible for the heavy tech applications like robotic parkings, light frame buildings, constructions, etc. We are ordering the very special glasses, not only from them, but we also partially self-develop them here. And this allows us with the active climate control and also filtering the natural light. Next to that, we have 5G by Huawei. We actually have much more together with Huawei, because they were kind enough to set up a weekly returning free workshop. I would like to emphasize that they are freely providing us with all the tools, both in the Amsterdam offices, in the Düsseldorf offices in Germany, and in Brussels in Belgium. Every week we're going to one of the different locations where they're introducing us to local companies that can help us where we miss a certain technology like cloud computing or smaller sub divisions, and then they immediately help us. Then we have the AI, our very own AI, partially developed by Inbright. Through Inbright, we will also acquire a large asset. So not only do we have food and water and the maintenance costs, which we can also monetize, not only do we have 5G, not only do we have fresh air, not only do we have the data component, but now we also have a separate AI component, which might be sold separately, and then for royalty or for recurring subscription payments, license fees, etc., we can monetize this as well. That plus, in addition to the smart houses, we have more than 5-6 different channels and avenues that we can achieve with just the same thing, just doing the one thing. And I always like to kill many birds with the same stone. Then we have military positioning system. This one is very important because the walls and the glass are so thick that actual GPS satellite signal doesn't go through. And you can also imagine in areas where there is less of a signal, this might be a problem for the positioning of our drones and droids, which is why we have something called the iPoint system, which is developed by the Belgian military. And this has never been used in a business case before. We will be the very first ones, the very first commercial use of this military technology. And this provides a precision of 0.2 nanoseconds accuracy in the delay of the control, which means that if the drone is flying against your eye with the rotors, the propellers, and you lean forward, the drone will react together with the AI real time without basically any delay. Now, of course, don't try this at home. That's not the goal of this, but it can be very, very useful when you're trying to cultivate rare flowers or sensitive plants. Then with the AR, HoloLight, and Microsoft, we are working on AR and VR technology so that we can establish remote control for our systems. So there are certain areas in the world where there is no elementary education, let alone advanced computer and robotics education, which is why we can also remote control, calibrate, and run these objects tens of thousands of kilometers apart from our headquarters here in Amsterdam. Next to this, we have in-flight wireless charging by this company, Global Energy Transmission, which means full wireless charging for our flying drones. They never have to land. So when we say 24/7 farming, there's also no rest for the wicked. The drones cannot land to charge either. And then a little bit of a summary about this. For those from the US, it might be interesting to hear that Berkeley is a partner on this. They're working together with us. For those not from the US, it might be worth mentioning that it's the 20th or 22nd best university in the world, and they have the most Nobel Prize winners from the students who finished in Berkeley. Next to this, we have one of the biggest military and defense and aeronautics manufacturer, Everest. They are also manufacturers in Spain. The demos and the testings are hosted by them. And we also have Polish developers who are helping with the drones. One of the pictures of the drones was actually our own manufacturing through them. Then a little bit of a reminder about the projects and the LOIs that we already have in place with countries. On this list, there are many other countries. Like I said, I think more than 10 at this point. Every single day we are on calls 24/7 to acquire more and more countries for this. And basically not only the success, but also steady profits are ensured once the prototype is built. And yes, just a little bit of a goodbye word, because this was the bulk of it, because we use unique technology to create something truly beautiful for a better tomorrow. And thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, David. Yeah, for me, it's absolutely amazing. And I saw some things on the chat. Most of them was Italian. Thank you for translation. I think Simone was it. Yeah, guys, now it's up to you. What do you think? Me, for myself, I never heard such an amazing thing, and I never had an opportunity like this. Thank you to David, and also a big thank you to Patrick for giving us this opportunity to be a part of something really great and something that can, yeah, change the world. We're already almost talking about some things, and everyone is saying we changed the world. We're making it a little bit better, but I think with this, we are actually doing it. I think there are a lot of questions. We are not able to answer any single one, but please, now you know this from the webinars. It's up to you. Ask your questions if there are some, and David will answer them, and yeah, we'll give you the good feeling that everything is okay.
I have a short question. Hi, David.
Hi, David.
Can you tell us something a bit about the return of invest? Because we are also, of course, investors, and what does it mean for from a profit side for CMMT clients?
Thank you very much for bringing this up. It's actually a very nice topic. The figures that you have seen earlier are actually not at all accurate, but they're not at all accurate in your advantage, which means that the profits are so enormous just from the sale of the smart houses that it's up to 20 to 40 million on that alone, not to mention the global sales of over $500 million, or when we become a household name for food production, that we didn't dare to put the actual potential ROI. We used a much more conservative approach. Here, at the very least, within the next 1.5 to 2.5 years, we can achieve 750 to 1,500% ROI. The only downside is the first 6 months is while we are building, and we cannot yet cash in on the LOIs and start the sale of the houses, for which we, by the way, already have a buyer and investor who buys them all at once. And of course prepays 50% as down payment. Alone from that, all the entire 3 rounds are refinanced to their original stake, and after that we can discuss, like I said, up to 7 to 15 times more, conservatively speaking, but it's going to be much more. If you just imagine the 3 rounds, which are 500K still open, 5 million it's going to open once the first round closes, and 50 million, then these are just the core rounds. And once we go from 500K, so investors now, to 500 million, then you can calculate yourself why such a crazy percentage is absolutely possible. And next to this, it might be also worth mentioning that we work together with the EIB, European Investment Bank, where if we do a PPP together with one of a richer country, and we can pull off 100 to 120 million, then the EIB will finance the second half, which we do not have to pay back, but the region pays back because we build the SmartKas there. So these factors alone ensure that you have a multiple upon multiple of ROIs. And basically what this means for CMMT community is a not only secondary, but perhaps main income source for the long-term period. And we have agreed with Patrick that we're going to implement the same kind of system, the same kind of levels as you have in the CMMT MLM and system. And we're going to use the following. We're going to build everything through CMMT, and then CMMT on its own invests into SmartKas, and through an authorized agreement, the returns are absolutely ensured. Next to this, as extra security rights, we are thinking about in the second and third round to opening up certain parts of the land as collateral and security for bigger investors. This will also mean later on, for those of you who invest, and for those of you who you convinced to invest in the first round, that they will also have profit sharing from the royalty fees of the AI. They're going to have profit sharing from the future maintenance costs, installation costs, and every other sub sales of the sub entities of the whole SmartKas.
Good evening, David.
Hi there.
Hi, I have a question for all the US people. Earlier, we're talking about all the different licenses for Europe. And what about license for the US? Where do we stand there for us?
Absolutely. So up to a certain number, and ever since I'm on board, we haven't reached that number yet. There is a sort of a leeway where you can go without licensing requirement. Also, if you're a US, well, basically not an investor, but sort of a subscriber or participant. And once we reach that number, which will be 99 in the first instance, or a certain amount of money, purely from the US, by that time, Patrick and I will go to the US, and we will also have the necessary licensing from the SEC there, and also maybe a FinCEN money transmitter license, although we do those services through a licensed third-party agent.
So that means we may get an office in the US?
What we already know for sure is that we will get a New York address, because I personally have access to one, a very nice and prestigious one. As to whether, I'll be very transparent with you, right? So not everything is made of candy. I'd be very surprised if there will be actual people there, because we have the bulk of our operations here. Plus, another important point to take into account, I say this more as a lawyer, there is something called base erosion and economic substance. which means that you will have to pay taxes and you abide by the laws where you pay most of your taxes and where you have most of your operational structure, which for us now is, of course, Benelux and Germany, which is why we're focusing on that. But this is good news for the US people because we're going to cater to them as we grow.
Great, thank you very much.
Anytime. If anybody has burning questions, ask them now if they are short enough. Otherwise, we are happy to take them also by email. You can also email me at david@mgroup.nu. The nu in Dutch means now. It's a kind of a clever wordplay. And please feel free to reach out to Michael or Patrick or me when you have any questions, because we run here a transparent game and we're, open book.
Well, hello, David. I'm Candace. Nice to meet you.
Hi there, nice to meet you.
Yes, thank you for this extraordinary presentation. And I'm sure so many people here are just amazed what your project is, and it's going to benefit the world. So, do you have a timetable, approximate ballpark timetable on when you're going to implement the opportunity for us CMMT members to take part in this venture with you?
Sure. So for larger investors, it's already a possibility to larger, I mean something like 25, 50 plus, 50K plus, whether USD or Euro, to kind of have a tabletop conversation together with Patrick and me. It's very important that we do these investments through CMMT, and together Patrick and me decide how this is dispersed. So that's for the larger investors, and I say it first because that's already possible 100%. You can just make an appointment, whether virtual or in person, with the two of us, and we discuss it. As for smaller investors, so more like the network, the hundreds and the thousands of people, I've been told that the package has been worked out already. I personally don't know when it will be published on the system, but know that it will follow the same network marketing rules and levels. And whenever investments are made into CMMT, partially it will anyway be put into the project, and the other part you can practically choose yourself that you can purchase this pocket. I hope that was
yeah, so basically Patrick and Michael will give us a more clear idea of the timetable.
I believe so. On the package.
Yeah. Okay. Patrick will give this. He already discussed it in the back, and we prepared everything. And I think this will be there in the next week. Not at the beginning, but in the middle of next week, you will have the opportunity for all of you to get the SmartKas package.
Oh, next week. Okay.
I think so. I can't promise you 100%, but I think so.
I have a question.
Yeah,
please.
I have a question. Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. David. We are very, very glad, particularly those of us from Africa. We are very, very glad for this project. The only thing, the question is, can we get a PDF on this project so that we can personally study them and then know them very well?
Yes, of course. I can make a specialized version for you. Which country are you from?
Nigeria.
Very perfect. We actually have very good connections there also with the government, even though you might not always agree with your own government. I know that, but those connections are valuable, not only in Nigeria, but also in the neighboring countries through whether the government or royal family. And we can then get the licensing faster on and build there as well, because we have Nigeria as one of our target countries as well. So yes, we will definitely send you an accurate PDF presentation that you can use there. And we're looking forward to building a community for SmartKas there with you.
Okay, because some of us that have connection with the government, we can study that and then present it to them.
Perfect. Let's do that together.
Through any of the ministry portfolios.
Very good. That's exactly what we're doing in Congo as well, by the way. I don't know if you heard. I'm going there this week. because I'm meeting the Minister for Agriculture, and yes, the building of the first unit will be probably there, and also then in Nigeria.
Okay. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Yes, I'm looking forward for the to the PDF too in English, though, which is I guess you have to give us a different version, but
yes, yes.
I appreciate that. Can you maybe for us in the United States, a few of us here, we know UC Berkeley very well. I know it's a very well accredited university. It's near me, actually. So are they working with you in the development of the project, or what is their role in your?
Yes, very good question. So it's the aviation research department. So it's for UAVs, and they are helping us with not only drones, but drone specific AI. Because we're going to have AI for the harvesting and also for security reasons and other stuff, and also to manage the cloud computing system. Mm-hmm. But Berkeley specifically, hold on a second, I can maybe check the name of the gentleman who we have from Berkeley.
This is Jack Phillips. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
I'm a marketer over here as well as the others here. The question I have here, are we allowed to talk about this in the USA? And are they now working with the Agriculture Department of the USA in this development of helping this? This is a great, great project that needs to be put up to the higher up, because our United States government would probably give you fundings for this also.
Absolutely. And Mr. Phillips, this is an amazing question. What we didn't bring up here is because we didn't want to go into detail about M Group, is that our M Group representative overseas is Mr. Jayan Qatari, and he's actually a US presidential appointee. He works in the White House. So we already have quite a good routing, quite a good establishment in the US for M Group. We are going to leverage these connections exactly for what you said. We're going to go to the OPIC. We're going to go to also the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And we're also going to go to various other US Gulf tenders and grants specifically for smart agriculture and aviation.
Well, I'll have you a connection in the United States government.
That would be amazing.
Whenever you get ready to pursue or acknowledge that structure, let me know and I'll put you in touch with that party.
Absolutely. Where are you located, if I might ask? Just
I'm located in Portland, Oregon,
right.
Just 90 miles southeast of that. And they.
All right. I'm planning to go there, not to Oregon, but to New York in April. So
well, I'll have connections in New York that'll also help you.
That would be amazing.
In fact, they're in the CMMT network.
That so would be even more amazing. Thank you very much. This is very, very encouraging. And also, this is exactly the kind of feedback we get from everyone. So we have the full support of the Dutch government, which is enormous help because we are based here. And everybody that we talk to is just super enthusiastic because finally they see a project that's not all about money, but, you know, on the off chance you also get to help humanity a little bit.
Well, this helps answer the great question that we get all the time. It sounds like to me this is a scam. So this just knocks this completely and buries it 18 feet under.
That's exactly how you should see it. Absolutely. Plus, what must be mentioned here for everyone, first round investors or first round achievers, leaders, get the chance to visit our prototype and our tech innovation center 24/7 once it's built. The land is already ready to visit, so that you can already find, although there's nothing much there. But I'm only mentioning this that you can get brick and mortar, you know, evidence and something that you can touch with your hands, and that cannot be more real than that.
Fantastic. I know everybody was asking questions. You were going to find a person from UC Berkeley that you're working with, remember?
Yes, it's David Cohen. In the meantime, I found him.
Okay, great.
Oh, Adam Cohen. And we work with the legal department as well, Kate Lewis. And she is the Associate Director at the Industry Alliance Office of University of California. So
fantastic.
We work with them. And because of that and other reasons, and now because of Mr. Phillips' suggestion as well, like I said, I'm planning a trip to the US. we will let everyone know who is interested and or able to come there, and I'm happy to meet everyone in person.
Fantastic. Can you, you or Patrick or Michael, tell us what would be the minimum amount that you'll be offering for the CMM members to be involved?
Yes, so I think there was two different type of conversations. So this is entirely not my topic. I just tell you what I know and what I the conversation I participated in. But eventually, it has to be decided by Patrick and well, CMMT as a company. Above a certain level, which is a very low threshold, but above that, we're going to use the exact same strategy and structure as CMMT. You just get to choose a different package, but they have the exact same provisions and conditions and commission. Below that level, so what would be the entry amount? That I personally don't know yet. I think it will be increased from something like 100 to like 500 or 1,000. And that's simply just
all right. Yeah. I'm in.
Because that way we can very easily make a calculation for the net asset value of the company, because then we tie each of this minimum participation to a square meter value in the project.
Excellent. So will people be able to say, you know, say the minimum is 500, okay, or 1,000, and they want to use their debit cards or wire transfer, we'll still be having the ability to do that through the exchange?
Not only through the exchange, but since the exchange is operated by us, well, partially for the unlicensed part, you will be able to just pay through those still, but it will not be converted because we are happy to accept fiat currency.
Oh my goodness, that's fantastic news.
Dave,
wow.
Would I be out of line to say, my friend, we are in the agricultural business of helping better people and helping to feed their families? Is that correct?
Absolutely, and I would even top that off with saying that we are in the tech business.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
You just made an 80+ man
dance
the jig.
God, I got better looking. Holy crap.
Normally, David, now I'm jealous. Normally, this is my part, but he's even more enthusiastic. I have to work on something. Okay, Jack, I'm jealous.
Yes, but exactly, that is the reality, that is the possibility. And like Michael has also mentioned many times before, the opportunity here is not only monetary, not only financial. The opportunity is also
we would be correct in saying that we're the only company right now at the beginning that uses drones to help feed the world and help them feed a meal. I love it. I got it.
Absolutely. That's absolutely right. And
thank
also,
you, David. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
My pleasure. And I also thank Patrick for making this happen, for keeping an open mind. We had many discussions about this, and I believe that we made the correct decision, because this is also blockchain based. This is also AI emerging tech. So it fits perfectly in the portfolio of CMMT, and it can generate steady and large returns for investors.
And speaking of which, I was going to ask you, I know you can't, precisely, I understand that 100%. But projection wise, so say in the next week or two, we come in, we purchase our package, our investment. I know that your first round for the larger investors, I did take a note that you're saying that they'll be involved with profit sharing. I'm not going to assume that that's involved with the smaller people, but
yes, that is the point. That is exactly the point.
Oh,
and that was about to say that we do not just want to give big bankers and trust fund kids the opportunity to invest in something lucky and in something smart. We want to give it also to the early 500 or 1K, exactly like you said. We don't know yet which one it will be.
Oh my goodness.
For the smallest of the smallest. Of course, proportionally less. So make no mistake, it's proportionally much less. But the opportunity is there for you to become a profit sharing partner and get your money's worth.
Oh, that's fantastic. And
Would
the time limit to say, I know people are going to ask me this. Okay, say, okay, well, if I put in $1,000, how long will it take before I get my original amount back, my principal back?
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to tell them straight up, we can't give you an exact timeline, but projection-wise, it could be in approximately, what could I say, 6 months, a year?
Yes, 6 months. That's
6
exactly
months.
6 months. And
Okay.
that is when we first are able to start paying out. Their investors, especially the smaller ones, will have the opportunity to either completely have an NAV calculation and just get the money's worth back, or keep it in, and for as long as they keep it in, the profit sharing is live.
Oh,
Okay, Mike,
that's fantastic.
only one
Fantastic.
thing, please. David, we must discuss about this a little bit about the commissions and everything. I think we must talk to everyone that we have it for 7 months, that we have also the commission before in. We are not want to scam or anything, so we must also calculate this. Please also calculate, we want to pay out the commission. We have now discussed, I was now in a call, that's the truth, I was now in a call with our programmer, David. He is also a part of the company, he's a very important part from the company. We discuss about now that we have new packages for this part. We program this now. He invite everyone from the other programmers tomorrow, and I think we can fix it at this weekend. And next week we have the new packages, but the packages are available with $500, $1,000, $5,000, $10,000, $50,000, and $100,000. Not the same packages as we have for the normal trading or anything else. We have a little bit bigger. About the amount, the minimum amount is $500. That's the only thing that's possible, that we can produce this with David together. And also will be the same at Teledoctor 24, but we show us this at the next week. We all have a second call and we discuss about this for the 7 months. We make a paper for this and we show it to everyone from our company, that they know, okay, when we put the money inside, we have 7 months to have the money back, or we let it in and the money works for itself.
So Patrick, you're saying the minimum's 500 on up, and the commission structure will be a little bit different because the money is working for the project, and then your principal will be available to you in 7 months, or you can go ahead and take the extra money and continue to expand on your participation.
Sorry, I don't understand the question.
Okay, sorry. Maybe
No
Christiane
problem,
can translate. So my question is, or clarification, is that we have the minimum of 500. Now,
Yes.
say somebody comes in for 1,000. Am I going to make my 8% upfront, or do I make my 8% after 7 months?
Yeah.
Also die
You
Frage von
get
der
your money at the first time. Normally, as everyone, it works. Every package works the same as the package before. That's
Ganz
why we
kurze
need
Frage.
6 months.
Die 8%, die Frage war jetzt einfach die Commission dafür, ne?
Ob
Christiane,
die
wenn ich
gleich
richtig
kommt oder
verstanden
später kommt.
habe, die Commission, die Realtime-Commission, ging es um die Network-Provision dafür, Christiane?
Ja, sie hat gefragt, wenn wir jetzt jemand reinbringen, der wo ein $500 Kauf kriegt, kriegen wir dann gleich die 8%
Genau, habe ich
Provision.
richtig verstanden. Dann war die Antwort richtig. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
My answer was right. I told to you, yeah, the 8% you become it at the first step. When this guy pay the package, then you arrived at this time the 8% commission. That's why we need 1 month more. That's the only thing.
Ah, so that's why you do it for 7 months before your principal returns.
Yeah, that we have the same than before. I think that's a stupid part when we pay the commissions at the 6 months or 7 months. I think that's not possible. That's not our work. We want to work for the company. We want also get the money for this. So when we get the money in 7 months, no one wants to sell any package for SmartKas. So we take it before. So the company go a little bit in the front. We go a little bit with our payment forward. And after the 6 months, we get it back. So every
I think we lost you, Patrick, for a quick second.
But I get it. I get it. He's
yeah.
adding the extra month in order to cover the upfront commissions that are going to be paid out to us immediately.
Candice, this is Robert here from Germany. Can you
Hi,
hear
Robert.
me?
Yes, I can, Robert.
Hi, Candice. CMMT have to front that money for us.
That makes sense.
For that reason right there, after 6 months when the money has been made, the profit on the project, then in the following month is when they will have received their remuneration and henceforth be able to pay out the individual members.
Perfectly put. And this is what I meant.
Very good.
Perfect.
Yes.
Yeah, this is what I meant, that the two packages will act in an identical way for the networkers. So you're not going to feel a difference, only maybe that you have more money due to the allure of this project.
Well,
so Brenda is asking an excellent question. Are these packages, do they expire?
In terms of our investments to us, I can only speak from my side. From our side, like I said, you have the option after the first cycle to get it out, if that's what you wanted, and goodbye. Or you get the option to keep it in. And for as long as it's kept in, up until the point that we go on the stock exchange, you will receive not dividends, but profit sharing percentages and payments according to that. At which point we will decide together with the first round investors how we're going to go to the stock exchange. This is 5 years from now, so far away. And then these shares, these profit sharing shares, can be exchanged for stocks, early stocks, Class A shares.
The question from Candice was because the CMMT packages, the original ones, expire at 360%. So there is a maximum profit of 360%. And the question was because of this. I don't know for sure what Patrick decided, but I think that there will be no expiration for you because this is a long-term thing. And you know when this...
The thing is, every physical part, sorry, Michael.
No problem, no problem.
I'm now back in the call. Sorry, in Mallorca, it's very windy, and every time in the English room, my connecting is really bad. I don't know why.
We still love you, Patrick.
Perfect.
Nice.
Now, the only thing is, from the physical market, every physical market from us is a long-term invest. So every physical market is without any procent or anything else. The physical market is the physical market, and when you are in this part, you get the money for this part. Also, when you go to Teledoctor 24, you have it for a long, long time. Also for SmartKas for a long, long time. It's not with any stop.
Okay, I got it. So this is a physical investment that doesn't have an end to it.
It's a physical investment for the company, and it's just the first, SmartKas is the first physical thing that we put inside the company and get packages for this. You know about this, we have now 100% in the commission wallet, but we make it possible that everyone can choose. I want to put the money in this part, I want to put the money in this part, I want to cash out, I want to pay more in Bitcoins or anything else.
But the main thing here, the absolutely main thing here, when you're presenting this to a customer, is when you present CMMT and with a great opportunity that is, and then you come back and say, to make sure this company is leading forward with technology, not only in technology, but backing your amount of money you put into CMT by making investment in the agriculture world that nobody doesn't even know about. So the product here, the smartest thing you could ever have done, you've done it. This is fantastic in the salesmanship of your company. This is a backup thing that makes CMMT 100% solid. I mean, all the way. That's how I'm going to use it. and
Jack,
buy us some packs.
you're an excellent cheerleader, Jack. Say, Big Mike, I have a question for David. I'm going to shift gears here. On the actual smart greenhouse structures, obviously they must be able to have them in varying sizes. What would be the smallest size unit, or whatever you want to call it?
Yeah. That's a good question, and I have to answer it from a different perspective. Any kind of size can be the smallest unit, but what is the first kind of size that is economically feasible? Because you imagine a drone has a certain range, the lights have a certain range, right, and this is the minimum and the maximum range, below which they become too efficient, which means that per square meter you have to use essentially more drones. So to give you an easy example, when you needed one drone for 20 meters, if you build it on your balcony with just 2 meters, you also need a drone. So essentially it's not cost efficient to build a very, very small one, but it starts around 100 square meter where it's kind of becoming 0.01 hectare, where it starts becoming cost efficient and economically effective to create one.
Well, the reason I asked is I want to know how much room I need. I want one in my backyard.
Okay. I have also a question, David. Yeah. Very important question. I think can you tell us something about the security and backup that the customer have when he invests into the SmartKas?
Yes. So it actually, we started the work on this today. We're building a fully licensed and fully commissioned funding website, but this is for now only for the Dutch investors because we are under the full regulatory oversight of the local regulator. Besides that, we also have the actual physical project here, where investors are naturally getting a sort of collateral or sort of a backup security for their investments. Plus, so these were already two, and in the future, we already have these LOIs, of which around 50% will be down payment, which will be again used predominantly to back the investments.
I have a question for Patrick, please, and I'm going to say it in German to make it a little easier. Hallo Patrick, kannst du mich hören?
Ich kann dich wieder hören, ich bin wieder hier.
Ja gut, super toll. Es wurde vorher gesagt, dass dieses Geld, was wir in unserem Maklerpaket gehabt haben, dass das ausgezahlt wird. Das wurde geändert, selbstverständlich. Und jetzt habe ich verstanden, dass dieses Geld, was da drin ist, können wir in den Smart reinstellen. Stimmt das oder habe ich da was falsch verstanden?
So ähnlich, und zwar, damit wir quasi den ersten Turn machen konnten, mussten wir natürlich vorher entscheiden und haben gesagt, okay, wenn die Gelder jetzt sowieso da sind, damit wir uns quasi das Exklusivrecht sichern, haben wir gesagt, okay, wir gehen quasi einmal in Produkte 24 und SmartKas und haben das quasi dafür gesplittet, damit wir da drin sind. Das heißt, dadurch ist für jeder automatisch eine Physical Wallet und ab jetzt kann quasi jeder dann selbst entscheiden, will ich in der Zukunft da reingehen oder will ich quasi komplett auszahlen oder reinvestieren in eine Bitcoin-Branche oder mir ein Physische gehen.
Also Michael, sagst du es auf Englisch, nicht, dass ich einen Fehler mache bei der Wiederholung.
Okay, no problem. So the question from Cristiano was, we told you that the real estate wallet is gone and that all the money that was in the real estate wallet from beginning of January till the 24th of February. First of all, we told you get this back. Last time I had to tell you that we decided to let it in the company because of these two opportunities. One is SmartKas and the next one is Teladoc24 because we have shares on both companies. And the question for Cristiano was, with this money in the real estate account, do we have as a member, do every one of you as a member have a share right now on these companies? It's not completely the same than the packages. You know, now you can decide with an own package, okay, to get a share and an even bigger one. But with this money in the real estate, you have a minimum on SmartKas and Teladoc24. We have to decide how to calculate, but no one will miss this opportunity. So everyone will have a little bit of it without starting a new package. But you know, when you heard this and when you will hear Teladoc24, I know that you will start a new package from this. But with this in the real estate account at the moment, or you have a little bit of it. But we have to calculate how to pay this out. The first time will be after 6 months. We need some time. Be patient, please, and then you will get something from it.
That sounds very, very great. And I would like to make a final statement for the evening. I read an article about 2 or 3 weeks ago that within the next 12 to 15 years, we can expect 1.5 billion refugees from countries where there's no more food because of lack of water. So this will help feed a lot of people, and it will help all the other countries, mainly Europe, where these people are going to try to find refugee. Europe can't take that many people. So this is going to stop the world hunger in Africa. We see the children's all the time. So for me, this is the best blessing I've heard in many, many years. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I also want to please say one word. I'm living here in Indonesia. I'm living on a rice field, and this year, because of the destroying of the rainforest, the rain time is so dry that the farmers here can no longer make farming, grow rice here on their fields. This means for this year that they can survive, they need to sell their land. But in the next year, after they sold the land, they have no income. And this means these people are forced to work here anywhere in the industry for less money, have no possibility to grow their own food. Such a machine, they can go on and use here the farmer sites, the countrysides, the land for farming. And yeah, it is really an amazing project, and really think about what you really have here in your hand. Thank you.
And here in Spain, in the Melsa area, the farmers are no longer allowed to grow lettuce because it takes too much water. We're in a drought, and Spain, as everybody knows, is the vegetable garden of Europe, but we're running out of water in Spain.
Wow. So this project is much needed. Brenda's asking, what is the time frame for the average crop to grow, David?
So none of the known numbers work anymore, and that's because of the fact that there's 24/7 support of vitamins, sunlight, minerals, data guided assistance. So everything will have to be recalculated. There is absolutely no data on this. Nobody has ever done this before. And obviously, until the prototype is done, we cannot even see this. What we did already measure, which works already with the highest tech Dutch industries, agricultural industries, is that it grows approximately 5 to 10 times faster, and you have 10 to 15 times more productivity due to the non-stop farming. That is already with the highest end existing tech. We only improve on that even much further.
Wow, that is
And
fantastic.
what will it do to the quality of the food in reference to vitamins and minerals? Are they going to be better, the same, since you're not going to use pesticides?
There will be much better because of that. And as you can recall, we have the smart soil component, which is basically a rich with vitamins and minerals enriched soil layer. We can provide for a plant, which means, you know, some require more nutrition from this and that, and we can basically specifically pre-make them for the request and the demand. So for example, if we go to X country and they want to develop, you know, I don't know, cactus or petunia, or doesn't really matter, then we can make the composite of this smart soil specifically the best for that specific plant.
I do have a question, especially in the United States. Unfortunately, in the United States, we're still using GMO farming, which is atrocious. You know, my hat's off to all the organic farmers that are battling that, but this is an answer to that. But do you foresee any resistance because the fact that you will no longer need GMO to create these crops?
Yeah, absolutely. There is going to be insane resistance, but you know, we are like the nature. We go the path of least resistance, so we're just not going to go to those countries in terms of, you know, development. Plus, these countries, especially the US, you know, they are advanced enough to produce enough food already. Our main target, at least in the first few years of the company, will be to establish these in countries where there is extreme drought or there's no food.
That's excellent. I'm all for it.
Thank you.
This is Jack again. Let me ask you a question. In this process that you're doing here, is there a possibility that you could start a satellite program in the USA for a selling model?
Yes. So basically, we work together for the drone and droid part with Everest, which is a Spanish company, and they are also into a space game, and they are also into satellites, etc. This has been jokingly brought up in our conversations so far, because I think one of the investors was trying to joke, and yeah, and of course it can also go to space. And then I started joking, yeah, why not? Since we have a hermetically closed system and we can essentially replicate every single condition, why not? But of course, you know, the humidity and everything else can be a big problem, because in, you know, the vacuum of space, it just doesn't exist. So there are still some issues with that. But yeah, I think why not? If you're being very sci-fi and futuristic, could be a good idea.
Dave, the reason I asked that question, I know the president of the Oregon Agricultural Association of the state of Oregon. I go to church with him.
Okay. And they are interested in space farming, or did I misunderstand something?
Well, they do ryegrass farming, model farming, all types. We're talking about 1,400 farmers in the state of Oregon.
That would be amazing. I think I must have misunderstood your first question. I heard satellite somewhere there, which is why I started talking about space. But in that case, we would be more than happy to, if there is an opening. Of course, we love the US. We have many great partners and companies, universities from there. Would be an amazing opening for us. It's just like it's been discussed with Candice, I believe. We're not going to go to countries in the first place who might be rejecting or resisting it, especially with, you know, the corporate greed in America sometimes.
I can help you, Dave. I got a lot of connections.
What I have to say about Jack, Dave, you don't know him, and I'm very blessed to get to meet him and work with him on a daily basis since November of last year. If anybody can do it, Jack is the one that can do it, I tell you.
That would be amazing. Well, I'm ever more hopeful for the future. I mean, seriously, every single week, something else happens that just positively pushes our expectations upward. And
will you call me day or night if you need some help over here?
Will do. Thank you, Mr. Phillips.
Yeah, guys.
All right.
I think this is totally amazing. We can discuss for the next 5 or 6 hours, but we have to come to an end. I think now you know and you totally understand me, that I was talking to you so proud, that I love this company, that I love everything we do. We're getting better and better. And I think with this right now, what we had before, with an amazing profit weekly, with a very good and big and reliable trading company in the back, with a CEO that does nearly everything to make this company even more safe and secure. And now we have all of the other companies are looking for an ecosystem, and we probably have the best one in the world. This is the biggest project ever. The joint venture between CMT and M Group is the best I've ever seen, and every one of you is on board, and you're the first ones. Guys, let this spread out in the world. Show everyone, tell everyone how good and big CMT is and what great opportunity this is, and let us help to make the world a little bit better. And now I can say this very proud, because this is the truth.
Thank you very much, Michael. And
nothing more to say. Also, thank you very much, David, for everything. Like I told in the German webinar, it's a real honor to have you on board. Thank you, Patrick and David, for your work, I have to tell you this, guys. The last weekend, David flew over to Patrick. They had discussions for the whole weekend, and they figured out in this 48 hours so many things for us. They were working like crazy, and these two are genius. They are fitting completely 100% together. This is perfect what they are doing, and I love both of them. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, David. You're amazing, and I'm proud to be the CSO of this amazing company.
Thank you too, Michael, and thank you everyone for your time and
I
attention.
don't know how to say it in English. I have Gänsehaut.
Goosebumps.
Goosebumps.
Goosebumps, yeah.
And there,
That I have read one text before and say, hey, you know that I'm Iron Man. And we sit together and we discuss everything, and I think we are discussing in 12 hours more than with any guy before. When I sit with anyone, we discuss for 4 months what David and I have done in 12 hours. I think in 12 hours. That's really crazy. It's incredible.
Absolutely.
He's so fucking clever. That's amazing.
No, not this effort.
Hey.
Next time you have to spend around.
Yeah, I can do this. I'm not.
Patrick.
Good word. It communicates effectively.
All my respect, but that's crazy. That's crazy. I don't find the right word. That's this word I know about.
Patrick, auf Deutsch hat es überhaupt keine Beleidigung, aber wenn man das auf Englisch sagt, ist eine ganz furchtbare Beleidigung. Das ist nur die Übersetzung, weiß man nicht.
Sagt es, dass Sie verstehen, dass es bei uns ein Scherz ist. Wenn Sie den nicht verstehen, dann haben Sie ein Problem.
Ja, aber das, ich sage es jetzt mal ganz kurz auf Deutsch, wenn du das F-Wort benutzt, dann ist es dasselbe, wie ich sage, oh, das verhurde Ding oder die Hure.
Okay.
Okay, this is the word.
In German, it's a word to say, oh, it's so crazy and amazing, and I only want to talk this, and I don't want to disturb anyone. So sorry from my side. I wish you all a nice evening. Good night, and till the next time.
See you, Paco. Thank you very much, Miguel. Thank you, David.
Thank you so much. And there's no Zoom call this coming Friday, correct?
There is no Zoom call this coming Friday, because I have to travel to Dubai. We have good appointments over there for CMMT with big guys. And there will be the next webinar on Wednesday, and there we will present the Teledoc 24. And we see us on 9:30 p.m. CET next Wednesday. On this Friday, you have vacation. Take your time, take a deep breath, and start working right now to tell the guys outside how big we are.
Next Wednesday, we have also inside the Teledoc 24, the second part, but the most important part for us for the future is SmartKas, and I only want to talk about this. And I think we have a second call with our Lara and Michael together, and we discuss how everything is working. That's the next part from our side for you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Perfect. So have a nice evening.
Thank you for your time.
Have a good night, guys. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you, guys. It was a pleasure like always. Bye-bye.
See you next week.
Bye-bye. Danke wel. Good night.
Thank you, Bear.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night.